I think it's one of the great ironies that I think we all want to see God move in his power. We want to see him do the amazing. We want to see his miracles. But at the same time, we don't want to be in a situation where we actually need a miracle. We want to see him move in power, but at the same time, we want to be comfortable. And when we do need God to move on our behalf, and it seems like the answer is delayed, the feeling, the sense that we need to do something can be overwhelming. And I have found in my life, I don't know about you, so many times when I don't wait for God to take the lead, those are some of my biggest mistakes. And so we look at Abraham. Now, Abraham, he was a friend of God. Again, what better, what a reputation. And he had this amazing promise from God. That thing that Abraham wanted, his deepest desire, God had said it's going to happen. But time went on and on and on. And not only did it not look like we're making progress towards that fulfillment, but things are looking worse. He's getting older. Sarah's getting older. It just physically can't happen. And so what happens? He gets bad advice. And based on that bad advice, he has a child with their servant to basically all but adopt it. Now, we look at that but that was entirely acceptable in that culture. And so what's happening? They're trying to help fulfill God's promise in their life. And so Abraham and Sarah go and they take action into their own hands. That sense that they needed to do something caused them to take action that wasn't what God's perfect plan was. And then here's the real, I love this part of the story. Then afterwards, then Abraham says, oh, that Ishmael would live before you. In other words, okay, yeah, I know I took matters to my own hands, but would you bless that? And isn't that what we do? We feel like we have such a profound need and we're not seeing God move. And then we strategize and we come up with a solution. And then we're asking God to bless our solution. Now, as you know in this story, God says, okay, I'm going to bless Ishmael because you're my servant and I love you. But that's not my plan. My plan is so much better. We miss out. And when I've said this before, when we help God out, it never works out. And so we see in Abraham, even a man known as a friend of God, that sense, that urge that we've got to do something can be overwhelming. And there's times where that sense that we need to do something not just can be overwhelming, it can be disastrous. And so we see a similar situation in Saul's life. So Saul is at the time the king of Israel. And he's been handpicked by God. He's got all the credentials. He's been filled with the Holy Spirit. He's been confirmed. He's been handpicked by God. But there comes the moment when he needs God to show up. And because he perceives a delay, he takes an action that winds up being disastrous for his future. Now, to be entirely fair, here's the context. He's waiting for Samuel to come offer this sacrifice to the Lord before they battle the Philistines. And the Philistines are over on the other side. Imagine the problem is literally jumping up and down, yelling, "Pay attention to me." And that's what the Philistines are doing. They're jumping up and down and taunting. It's so easy for us to look at Saul and go, gosh, how could you make such a big mistake? But again, that pressure when the challenge, the situation is literally jumping up and down in your face, yelling at you. That sense you need to do something. And then on top of that, what does he see? He sees his men in fear and starting to drift away. And so that pressure to not wait, that pressure that we need to do something, it can be overwhelming. But again, helping God out, it never works out. Well, God's plan is perfect, and we demonstrate our confidence and our trust in his plan by letting him take the lead, by waiting for him. There's a verse that I absolutely love in Psalms 106, and it's talking about when God is taking his people through the desert and he's taking them to the promised land. And when they're complaining and what because they didn't understand what he was doing. And they demonstrated their lack of trust. And it says in Psalms 106, and they did not wait to ask him what he wanted them to do. See, we have this nature that says we need to take action. And again, my greatest mistakes in my life probably have always been when I didn't wait for God, when I felt like I needed to do something. You know, the secret to a God-powered life is we have to let God take the lead. And we'll see in a later episode, when God takes the lead, how do we respond? But we demonstrate our confidence in his plan. We demonstrate our trust that he's got it handled, that even when that problem, like in Saul's life, is jumping up and down, yelling, pay attention to me. When we don't come up with our own strategy and we're seeking God and we're waiting for his answer. Now, the good news is there is something we can do which is very productive, that it's not just a wait and keep our fingers crossed. Isaiah says, give the Lord no rest until he performs his promises. So if we need something to do, if we need to take some action, rather than working out a strategy, let our strategy be this, that we give the Lord no rest until he performs his promise, he performs his word, until he comes to the rescue. And as we learn to do that, then we will truly have a God-powered life.